So here we are, day 108, going through my old journal. The quote for today says, I'll try to read this backwards. Success is nothing more than having a few simple disciplines. Let me just read it. Success is nothing more than having a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Okay. It says, where are you disciplined in your life and how has it helped you? What do you need to be more disciplined with and how is it hurting you? Okay, I think this might be a good one. So if you want to take a minute to think about how you would answer this, I'll read what I said. Okay, so I said, if I would have gotten this question a year ago, I would have said nothing. Wait, what's the question again? What are you disciplined in your life and how has it helped you? I would have said nothing. For pretty much all my life, I haven't been very disciplined with anything. I was able to scramble things together well enough to get by in school and do a decent job with work, but there was always an underlying level of stress and anxiety to it. It's only been more recently, really in just the past month, that I feel like I've gotten disciplined in a way that's really helping me to be successful in work and school. I think the most important thing has been waking up early and building a routine that flows into working. Also, spending an hour at the gym every morning to study has helped me a lot in keeping me on track with schoolwork. Also, starting to have a somewhat steady evening routine and getting enough sleep has helped. I really do think the quote is correct. So the quote again says, success is nothing more than having a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Just staying consistent with a few simple disciplines can get you far. Even though I fear getting so locked into a routine that I get anxious if I can't uphold it, I feel like that fear is unwarranted, at least in my case. The benefits of building a routine seem better than the potential drawbacks. So yeah, I think some people are prone to getting really hooked on routines. I think I've been reading that that's something that's common with some people with autism, or maybe OCD. I don't know too much about OCD, but routines, they really like routines, and if their routine gets out of whack, they get really kind of anxious and stressed that they're not sticking to their routine. And so I don't know why I've had a fear of that. I think I don't know if it's on TV or movies or something. Some people were portrayed like that, those people that were really sticklers for routines. And I think I was afraid, and I saw that actually quite a bit at Disney, and I think it made me afraid of that because the families that I would say were the least happy sometimes were the ones that had a very rigid routine and couldn't deal with unexpected things coming up. And at Disney, you can spend weeks planning out your whole vacation and being okay, we're gonna do this at this time and this at this time and this at this, blah blah blah. But all of these things can happen that are out of your control, that can mess up your plans. And I just saw so many people having just breakdowns, just moments, because an attraction was down, and so they didn't get to ride this ride that they wanted to do, but they had dinner reservations at this time and this was going to mess up their whole day, and they were so stressed and unhappy, and their families were unhappy. And I remember my first time I went to Disney, it was a band trip. I was I think I was a senior in high school, and I didn't even know anything about Disney beyond what they'd shown on the Disney Channel, and I didn't have any expectations, any major expectations of what going to the park would be like, and I just had a blast. We had so much fun. At least I did. I don't know if the other girls I was hanging out with did, but yeah, everything was so new and I was taking in so much, and it was just everything was so interesting. So even if I was waiting in line for something, there was so much to look at. And So yeah, we didn't have any plans. We just rolled up on things, and it just seemed like things were just happening, and it was great. But then I've seen the other side of that with some of the families that come there. And there's even been some times that I've overplanned it because I after I'd been there the first time, I had expectations, and but it was way more fun, I think, to not have the expectations like that. But not saying not to plan for Disney, because I've heard things are different now. Like, you kind of have to plan everything. But I've been scared to get it like so rigid in something that I would get anxious if it came off. And so far, like, that's not the case. Like, I found it really easy even on the days. So I've got some videos talking about my habit tracker, and like, even though there's days that I don't like fill in all of my habits or whatever, I just always think like, well, there's always tomorrow. Today didn't go exactly how I wanted it, but tomorrow's a new day, and I'm able to like move past not doing things as perfectly. And so that doesn't really seem to be a problem with me. But yeah, like, it's not crazy, but like, I've heard so many times my whole life people talking about, you need to wake up early, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And I always just kind of wrote it off as like, well, that's just those people. I always was the type that would stay up pretty late at night. And, like I said, I didn't really have a routine, but I always just thought, oh, I'm a night owl. I'm just, I always stay up late. Like, if I don't have school or work to wake me up the next day, I will just sleep in, and I just thought I was that type of person that just I thought my natural clock was just a night owl or whatever. But I think my natural clock does favor like times when other people are asleep. But what I found is that I also enjoy being up when other people aren't up. So if I'm up super early, it's kind of the same as staying up late, I feel like, because you can go out, like I go to the gym and there's no cars on the road, and you get up early, and most people don't hit stores and stuff until like 9 or 10. And so if you get there at like 7 or 8, like, it's just calmer, and I think I enjoy that. So yeah, like, I always thought those people that woke up early were just crazy, like overachievers. And now that I'm doing it, if I could do it, anybody can do it. And it has been a benefit to me, at least. Just having the series of things that I do in the morning that set my day up to kind of flow in the right way. And it's taken me like 4 years to really get it. And it's not 100% perfect yet, but it's definitely, I'm I'm getting a good routine that works for me. And I think you can't follow someone else's routine. You've got to try different things, like maybe use other people to get inspiration, and then just keep trying until you get something that works for you. And I feel like I'm that way with my morning routine. Night routine is getting pretty good still. Even my food, like my eating, I feel like there's just not as much stress related to food. Like the meal planning, like all these people will say, like, oh, watching your calories and meal planning, like that's, bad for your mental health, and it's, you know, I don't know, eating disorder type stuff. But um I haven't found that. Like, I actually enjoy the structure of having the meal plan laid out for me, and not having to take the effort to think about, like, what am I going to eat? Is this healthy or not? Is this blah, blah, blah? When I have my meal plan and I'm sticking to it, and it's just that, like, it just takes it takes stress off of me, and it makes things easier. And I feel like I know they talk about eating disorders, and like, people sometimes do this because they want to have control, but I feel like having control of what I eat is way better than just like being out of control. So I don't know. I'm enjoying this meal prep for the most part. I'm ready to be done with it like pretty soon. I've got 3 more weeks left. But I think I'm enjoying doing it, and I think once it's over with, I think I'm gonna have better eating habits and a better relationship with food, like the types of things, like on the Facebook group, these some of the women have already started posting about like what's the first, you know, thing you're gonna eat when this is over with. And I'm like, and they're posting like pastries or cookies, or I'm gonna drink some wine because you're not supposed to have alcohol on this. And I just want to eat fruit and sushi, and you know, I want to go back anyway, like because I've been eating, like I've cut the processed food and stuff out, I do feel like I have a lot more control over my appetite, my hunger cues, and yeah, I think even after this, I'm not gonna like meal prep like I have been, but I think I am gonna plan out my meals for the week and keep kind of doing that, like buying my groceries on the weekend and already having planned what I'm gonna eat. That way it's not just kind of random. And yeah, choices are stressful. It takes up space in your mind. So if you just make the choice ahead of time and you don't have to worry about it, to me that works out. But anyway, that's just me. Like the one thing that I've noticed over these past several years is that, you know, everybody's different, and I think I see a lot of people just something works for them and they assume that like their way of thinking or their way of doing things is the way that everyone should think or the way that everybody should do things. But I don't think people realize that other people can be different from them, and what works for you isn't necessarily going to work for someone else, or what you believe, you know, doesn't have to apply to everybody. So I don't know. This is just what works for me. For me, being more disciplined has had a huge benefit on my life. So yeah, I'm glad that I finally, after like 30 some odd years, finally I'm starting to feel like I'm getting it together. So yeah, that's what I have for this day. I'll be back tomorrow with day 109.